Hey guys, sorry about that. I had to redo that other video of this same topic. I was in the middle of looking for my source, the video of James Gunn's comment, but I couldn't find it, and I just had to take a minute. I just had to take a minute and actually locate it. So my apologies on that. That was really unexpected, if you will. But anyway, the topic is again James Gunn versus Martin Scorsese round 23, round 54. I lost count every few years or so. These two would go at it again. But this one, of course, this time is mainly just James Gunn reacting to Martin Scorsese's comment from a few years ago. So so it's not like Martin Scorsese actually made the latest comment, or like made a recent comment about superhero movies. So who brought this up? Like, why bring this up again when nobody's really discussing it? You can blame it on Josh Horowitz of MTV. I don't know, man. It seems like a clickbait, like trying to get views and stuff, like trying to create um, controversy or drama so people could go to his stupid happy, sad, confused podcast. So of course, this is a snippet of that conversation or interview. And of course, Josh Harwitz had to pick this clip, to get the fans riled up. Oh my God! Look at what James Gunn said about Martin Scorsese. Here we go again. Let's hear it.
You've kind of become the de facto one of the guys that always comes out to have to defend the comic book movies when some of the luminaries come out that we all love and respect, like the Jodie Fosters and Scorsese's of the world, say certain things. Does it feel a little exhausting sometimes to be the guy to be like, I love you, Marty, but hear me out here, or what?
I don't know. I just think it's awful. He just seems awful cynical that he would keep coming out against Marvel, and then that's the only thing that would get him pressed for his movie.
Right.
So then he just kept coming out against Marvel so that he could get pressed for his movie. So he's creating his movie in the shadow of the Marvel films. And so he uses that to get attention for something that he wasn't getting as much attention as he wanted for it. And he's one of the greatest filmmakers who's ever existed. I love his movies. I can watch his movies with no problem. And he said a lot of things I agree with. There is a lot of things that are true about what he said. There are a lot of heartless, soulless, spectacle films out there that don't reflect what should be happening. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've talked to film directors before they went in and made a big movie and said, "Hey, we're in this together. Let's do something different with these big movies. Let's make them something different than everything that's come before them."
Yeah.
And then see them just go and just cater to every single studio whim or what's thought of and just be grossed out, frankly. So, he said, well, a lot of what he said was good. And then also, like, he hasn't seen my movie. He doesn't know what my movie is.
Sure.
So, it was irritating.
Okay, so yeah, thanks a lot, Josh Horowitz of MTV. So this has been trending, and a lot of fans have been chiming in, and I'm gonna give you my 2 cents, my few points about this, and then we'll get through what the fans are saying about this same topic. So point number one, and I tweeted about this. Martin Scorsese, as James Gunn implied there, Martin Scorsese is one of the gods of filmmaking. Okay, like it or not, this is Martin Scorsese that we're talking about here. He's one of the all-time greats. Um, so if Martin Scorsese wants to trash Marvel or trash DC or call it a theme park movies or what have you, things that he's said in the past, like I think he said, Marvel movies are not cinema, or that superhero movies are not cinema movies. If he wants to do that, dude, Martin Scorsese has earned the rights to do that. Okay, he's got one Oscar. I think he's got. I mean, before he won an Oscar, he was like nominated many, many times. He was At one point, he was like Roger Deakins of director. People are like, how come he hadn't won yet? And then so he finally won for The Departed, and he's still producing great stuff. So if he wants to shit on comic book movies, superhero movies, whether or not we like that his statement, whether or not we agree with his statement, whether it's right or wrong, he has earned the rights to shit on comic book movies. So let's just get that out of the way. Number one. Number two. This is where the nuances come in, because to add to what James Gunn had said there in that video, um, if Martin Scorsese says that Marvel movies or DC movies are theme park movies or they're not cinema, then he's basically in spirit, or in essence, he's basically also trashing his buddy Steven Spielberg, because an argument could be made that Steven Spielberg was the one who pretty much started the whole summer blockbuster thing with Jaws, and all the whatever his movies follow up after Jaws. Because he Steven Spielberg gave us E.T. He gave us Encounters of the Third Kind. Man, I'm blanking out right now. So for the longest time, Indiana Jones movies, right? Indiana Jones movie, the trilogy in the '80s. So for the longest time, Steven Spielberg was the kind of the one of the pioneers of, like, roller coaster summer blockbuster movies. So for Martin Scorsese to be criticizing superhero movies, in a way, even though Steven Spielberg has not made a superhero movies, but he does make Steven Spielberg continues to make what Martin Scorsese would categorize as theme park movies, or like movies that are just like roller coaster ride stuff. So in essence, he's also criticizing his friend. So I was like, yeah, I don't know if he realizes that. But again, to James Gunn's point, um, in that Martin Scorsese's criticism does have some basis to it, some grounds to it. He's not completely 100% wrong. Um, there are movies out there that just like Josh Trank's Fantastic Four reboot a few years ago. Like, we wish that this kind of stuff did not exist. It just gives a bad name to not only cinema but superhero movies genre, in particular. So if Martin Scorsese's criticism is in regards to that kind of movie, or those kinds of movies, then yeah, his argument is totally valid. So that's point number two. Point number three. Uh, what James Gunn said in this video about, hey, Scorsese only says that or comes up on the surface to say that kind of stuff, every now and then, in order to promote his movie, in order, gain publicity. That's kind of true. That's kind of true. So the ball is on James Gunn's court on this one, because I think the last time Martin Scorsese said or criticized superhero movies again for the thousandth time was in 2019, when he was, when his movie The Irishman was, about to come out. Remember the Irishman with Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, and Robert De Niro. So there's a bit of truth to that. There's a bit of truth to that. Whether or not Martin Scorsese intentionally did that, the optics is that he was trying to gain publicity for his movie. It's like, let me create, just like Josh Harwitz right now with the whole video here. With bringing up the question about Martin Scorsese again. Hey, come check out my Happy Sad podcast. If you want to get some more of this, controversial stuff again. Just so Martin Scorsese is like, hey, let me rile up some people, and hopefully they also check out my movie Irishman. So there is some truth to what James Gunn is talking about here. Um, I think, though, and this is my last point before we get through the comments on Twitter. I think, though, superhero movies, when they are well made, they can be, quote unquote cinema. They don't necessarily. I mean, man, even though I'm not a big fan of Zack Snyder's Watchmen, that's one example where Watchmen really tackled some heavy issues. You know what I'm saying? Tackled some relevant issues of that time, and he gets really political as well. And some other superhero shows or movies are also equally profound. So and they are equally very well made. Like they're not done half-ass. You know what I'm saying? So and some of these filmmakers, they're so visionary, like James Gunn, for example, where they would combine the whole um, fun stuff, fun part of the superheroes uh, with some of the today's really visually striking and you know uh, deep themes. It's like some of these superhero movies, they actually try to appear Oscar worthy. The last one that was actually got nominated for sure for Best Picture was Black Panther. You can disagree that Black Panther may not necessarily deserve a Best Picture nomination, but the movie really wanted to be so much more than just a visual spectacle, and it's I kind of respect that. So my point is, what I'm getting at is, it's not impossible for a superhero movie to appear or to come across or to seem like the cinema movies that Scorsese is used to. Do you get where I'm getting at? So it all depends on the filmmakers. It all depends on how well it's made. But it's not impossible. It's possible for a superhero movie to rise above more, to rise to become more than just a roller coaster theme park ride kind of, uh thrill ride, if you will. So I think if Martin Scorsese would just give these movies a chance, and he would be able to see that these some of these filmmakers of these some of these superhero movies, they actually really really try to to go the distance. Oh, another example is Logan, the 2017 movie. Remember that, with Logan, Wolverine dying? That was really dramatic, man. Holy crap! It was violent, but it was also emotionally deeply moving film. So it was very cinematic, and I don't think Martin Scorsese. If Martin Scorsese sees that movie, I don't think he has. But if he sees that movie, I think he will say, you know what, I stand corrected. I bet you he will say that. So let's go through some of the comments here, and many of them I agree with. Here we go. This is from Colonel Bork Flag, and he's criticizing MTV journalist Josh Harwitz for once again bringing this up when Martin Scorsese himself is not saying anything as of recent about comic book movies. Like I said, the last time was like 2019 when he was promoting The Irishman. So Colonel Borflag says, why did you ask him that question? The debate around Marty's comic book movies remarks has been dead for ages. This feels very baity. I gotta agree. I gotta agree. Colonel Borflag kind of took the words out of my mouth there. Like, that's why Josh Harwitz is like, yeah, just he's just trying to create some buzz so people could visit his stupid, happy, sad, confused podcast. Eric Sansani, it's a great question to bring up. It invites us an always relevant discussion about popular art versus critically acclaimed indie art. The fact that it was that easy for a simple, easily predicted question to generate a sloppy, accusatory, controversial response is Mr. Gunn's fault. Oh, really? Okay. Hey, that, you know what? In the words of the dude from The Big Lebowski, hey, that's just your opinion, man. Film Brad says, legit don't know who is more cringeworthy here. Joss for bringing this up, or again, James Gunn for saying Scorsese is trying to drum up press, when it's literally press like Josh asking Scorsese about Marvel. And the thing is, that I think one of the fans on Twitter also said this, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's right when he said every time Martin Scorsese is doing press tour or press round, he gets asked this question because the journalists, the hack press like Josh Horowitz knows that it's gonna get views. So every time Martin Scorsese does round or press tour, he gets asked the same question like, "Hey, what do you think about Marvel movies? What do you think about comic book movies?" But when Martin Scorsese gives his answer, all of a sudden, everybody clutching their pearls. Oh my God, he's trashing Marvel movies. He's trashing DC. Could you believe? How dare he? But it's like, dude, but you ask him that question, and when he gives that answer to you, you're doing the feign outrage, like, oh my God. It's like that's what he's gonna say. You know that. So, and that happens again every once in a while because they always because when you do a press tour with Martin Scorsese, I'm sure it's gonna be like if you don't bring up the Marvel movies or DC movies, it would feel more like a like you're in a classroom of a school in front of a film teacher. You're a film student kind of thing. Then the discussion would be really substantive. So of course they had to throw in the whole Mr. Martin Scorsese, what do you think about comic book movies, again and again and again. And when he gives his honest answer to you, and you're like, oh, all fake outrage, come on, get out of here, cry me a river. um Quote, in the shadow of Marvel films. Okay, sure, Jan. Zemo says he's right though. Marshmallow, everything he said is so true and sensible. Really, he just gets it. Uh, is Marshmallow referring to James Gunn or Martin Scorsese here? I'm not sure. Um, Antoinette, all he understands is attention seeking, so he probably assumed that that's what Scorsese was after too. Shihan says, cringe. Cringe is correct. Cringe. Keith Hart tells us a guy who makes superhero movies for Disney describing the actions of Martin Scorsese as cynical is a hell of a thing. But again, James Gunn is entitled to his opinion. Just like the dude from The Big Lebowski says, hey, it's your opinion, man. Old Greg, imagine hearing a man in his 70s say he's not into superhero movies and being so insecure about your interests that you delude yourself into thinking that the only reason he could possibly think such a thing is for attention. So basically, Old Greg is in defense of Martin Scorsese here. That he's basically saying that, hey, Martin Scorsese is not trying to get publicity or trying to get publicity. He's just saying that superhero movies is not my cup of tea. Um, Jizzle Dobb says, do you see what you've done? Please stop asking this question. Exactly. Ah, man, you're a joke. I don't know if he's referring to Scorsese or Josh Horowitz or James Gunn with that statement. Man, you're a joke. Let's see here. I think there's some more. If my internet would just work well on me. Here you go. There are some more reactions here on Twitter. Maybe if I close some of these windows. No? Still not fast enough? Telling you. I don't know why I paid Spectrum every month that, and it's just like sluggish internet Wi-Fi. Here you go. Ashley Clark says, what is it about Martin Scorsese, filmmaker of total integrity and boundless enthusiasm, with a bewilderingly diverse body of work, whether you like it or not, made over 6 decades, material and spiritual champion of world cinema, that makes people so tragicomically insecure? James Gunn tries to backpedal. James Gunn tries to, you know, not seem or not come across as anti Martin Scorsese. James Gunn says, also for the record, Martin Scorsese is probably the world's greatest living American filmmaker. I love and study his films and will continue to love and study his films. I disagree with him solely on one point, that films based on comic books are innately not cinema. That's all. Josh Horowitz tries to also clean his mess. He said, for the record, I wasn't trying to start a war between two directors I admire. If you watch Listen, there's a lot more nuanced than many of these headlines are going with. Oh, and it's about 90 seconds of a 45-minute chat. Oh, boo hoo. But you picked that snippet. You picked that clip. You know, it's like, oh, I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to start this war. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Now you're trying to like, oh, please don't hate me. Don't cancel me. Yeah, you did. You know, and you put it even here on the same breath. You said, "Oh, it's not the whole statement. Go check out my podcast to check out the whole statement." It's all a ruse just to get people to go to your stupid podcast. Stop trying to be like like you're above it, Josh Horowitz. Freaking A, man. You knew what you were doing. Um, Will Mavity, I love how every single time Scorsese does a press jump. Oh yeah, here you go. This is the question that. Here's what I was paraphrasing earlier. He basically said like, "Hey, every time Scorsese does a press junket or press round, he gets asked this question, and when he gives his honest answer, everybody's like, oh my god, why is he attacking Marvel?" Chris Evangelista says, as we enter yet another soul-crushing cycle where people whine that Scorsese doesn't like superhero movies, it's worth noting that Zack Snyder actually had the most sensible comment on the matter, so good on him. Snyder said, uh, oh, it's fair, Snyder said in response to a fan question in his interview in The Guardian. Martin Scorsese is a genius. If you're really good at something, commenting on that world is completely within your rights, and it doesn't diminish my respect for him. I'm certain he wasn't talking about my movies. He might have been, but I like to think that he wasn't. He meant the other ones. So yeah, man, he's earned the rights to do so. MSZ says this is an out of context quote. Gunn later talks about how much he respects Scorsese, but it is interesting how these regular ritualistic Scorsese slams by comic book filmmakers seem to come from a place of defensiveness and embarrassment. They should examine that. Hmm. Michael Shannon on Zack Snyder. I think Zack is the master stylist visually. I mean, he's up there with Scorsese in my book in terms of visual composition, orchestration, etc. Uh, so, Michael Shannon, who plays Zod, praises one of today's respected superhero comic book movies filmmakers by putting him on the same pedestal as Scorsese. Well, you look at that. See, instead of like anti or instead of versus, it's like, hey, Zack Snyder and Scorsese, man, they're on the same level, man. Um, Lizzie, and I'll end on this. Lizzie, again, the fact that Scorsese mentioned Marvel once and then never brought it up again, I think he did bring it up. He did bring it up a few times. While people, interviewers in fandoms and Hollywood have not stopped mentioning it since 2019, is genuinely disturbing. In Paranormic says, Scorsese needs press. Scorsese, basically saying, yeah, Scorsese, of all the filmmakers out there, Scorsese is probably the least that actually needs publicity. I mean, people, at least for me, if I hear that Martin Scorsese is coming up with a new film next month, that's more than sufficient enough for me to go and pay tickets to see it. Like, oh, Martin Scorsese, I'm in. I'm in. I don't care what it is. Martin Martin Scorsese does not need help with publicity. But him attacking Marvel and DC inadvertently does kind of play into him gaining publicity for his movie, like The Irishman a few years ago. Whether or not he intended it, whether or not he purposely wanted to do that. So that's about it. Let me know your thoughts about this latest hoorah again. of James Gunn versus Martin Scorsese. Um, James Gunn had commented on Martin Scorsese before, so this is like the round 23 or something like that. I lost count. So let me know your thoughts about this topic. And as always, also go check out my review of the Suicide Squad. It's already on my YouTube channel. Go watch it there. And yeah, press like button and subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, subscribe. Thank you guys.